Welcome back to another episode of the VSOP Lounge. Run it up. Run it up, run it up, run it up. What's going on, everybody? Did you enjoy last episode? Did you enjoy it? Well, I need you to go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Give me a like. Hit the subscribe button so I can continue to bring you. Let me fix this situation here. There we go. So I can continue to bring you a good, high quality conversation. How's everybody doing? Drink of the evening, tequila sour. A tequila sour. Now, there's some stuff that we got to talk about this evening, and this is your trigger warning right here. Tonight we're going to talk about when it's time to walk away. When it's time to walk away. How do we know? How do we know? How do we identify when it's time to walk away? Now, I'm talking to my bros out there, my burnt out, run down, and overworked people. And I'm talking to my sisters in sad situations. Too many times we enter the dating scene, or we attempt to move on from a past relationship, and we're not completely healed. But how do we avoid that? It's because we ignored the signs. We ignored the signs of when it was time to walk away. Now, I don't know why people stay in these situations. I can tell you the past version of myself stayed in situations like this out of comfort, because I was comfortable where I was, and I felt like that any place that I was I hated change. So I stayed, and I did some taking, I did some giving of toxicity and just bad vibes in my earlier life, because I didn't have the will to walk away from what I was comfortable in. I was a victim to that old cliche. It's the devil that you do know is better than the devil that you don't. I was foolish. So now I'm really talking to people that are stuck in sad situations, because what happens is, in relationships, the general rule of thumb is 1/3 of the time that you were in the relationship it takes to heal. But there's this shit, quite frankly. There's this shit out there that the quickest way to get over somebody is to get under somebody else. That's bullshit. And all you're doing is taking your hurt self, playing with somebody's physicality and somebody's emotional health, and you're hurting people. So let's knock that out. All right? So some of the reasons that people don't walk away are fear, guilt, can't afford it. For those of you guys that are married out there, religion or culture doesn't support it. Hope that things will get better. Obligation and justification, meaning that it's not all that bad. Now let's dig into that. Let's dig in. Notice I didn't mention comfort. I'm calling myself to the carpet on this one first. You got fear. Fear of retaliation, fear of being alone, fear of nobody else is going to want you, because usually when we're talking about relationships that does long-term damage to people, there are usually kids involved. There's usually some public persona that we have to protect, whether, you took them to the church, you let them meet mom and dad, you've brought them to all of the family reunions for the last 6 years in a row. So there's fear. and there's outright fear of what that person is capable of. There's guilt. This one I had a hard time with. I had a hard time with guilt because there should be no guilt for leaving a situation that you're not happy in. There should be no guilt for leaving a person that you're not happy with. You owe it to you to provide yourself with happiness, because how can you compliment and aid in somebody else's happiness if you're not happy yourself? So you owe that to you, and you owe it to all potential suitors going forward. I can't afford it. Now, I'm in the middle. I'm in the middle on this one. I, for one, don't see why or how anybody allowed themselves to become completely financially dependent upon somebody without stacking something away for a rainy day, without having an emergency fund, having something on the side. I think that this is smart. I think that this is the intelligent thing to do. And I think that, I'm not saying keep this from your partner. Let them know that there is a stash, right? I think I'm on record of that. Listen, I keep a go bag. There's 2 credit cards, some stuff, and about 2 weeks worth of clothes in there, where at any minute, if shit goes south, man, I can get out of Dodge and be good and be okay. Religion or culture. This is huge. This is huge, because the majority of people look at the sanctity of dating and or marriage. They look at dating for the purposes of marriage, and they look at marriage as forever. And there's nothing wrong with this outlook. Society has set things in place this way, and we have to play by the rules of the room that we want to play in. So, that being said, religion or culture doesn't support it, and we're talking. This is not so much Americanized as it is, West Indy. No, not West Indy. Middle East. Yeah, West Indies, Africa, the continent as a whole, pretty much. Yeah. So, there are cultures, Jewish culture, Muslim culture, and a few other religions that I don't want to speak on their religion and their principles, but there are several different cultures that don't believe in separation and or divorce. They believe that dating is for the purpose of marriage, and then that once you're married, you're married. Good, bad, ugly, indifferent. Hope. Now, here's where I have a problem, and I'm about to call people to the carpet on this, and I've given the trigger warning already. Okay. Staying in a bad relationship because of hope is just as foolish as falling in love with potential. It makes no sense whatsoever. There's no logic behind it. There's nothing scientific to back this up. You stay in there in hopes that things are going to get better, in hopes that you didn't fall in love with the representative, and that the person that you fell in love with is the actual person. My advice to that: when people show you who they are, believe them. You were in the honeymoon phase 3, 4, 5, 6 months. You've been dealing with bad shit 3, 4, 5, 6 years. It's not going to get any better. That ship is not turning around. Now, I'm not going to be the stereotypical person, but just leave. Because I realize it's not that simple. Some people can't afford it. Some people, grew up and matured and wise and smartened up a little later in life. But you have to know when it's time to walk away. And once you make up in your mind that it's time to walk away, that has to be your decision. Okay? It has to be your decision, and you have to stick with it. Because once you've made a decision, especially in women, once women have made the decision to walk away from the relationship probably was over like a year prior, 6 months prior. Because women lose emotional connection and they stay in, hoping that some kind of spark is going to reignite. They stay in for comfort. They stay in for financial stability. They stay in until they figure out what the next move is. But emotionally, they detach well before they physically detach. You cannot stay in a bad situation because of hope, because hope is not tangible, and you owe yourself tangible output. You do. You owe it to you tangible output. And I don't understand why. I just don't get it. I don't get it. I don't understand it. And I'm not condemning these people because I don't think like this. It doesn't mean that they're thinking, well, it does mean that their thinking is wrong. It's wrong. But I don't understand where the mindset comes from. So I can't condemn you because I don't understand where you were conditioned to behave like this. Obligation. You owe nobody. There it is. I just gave you your release right now. You owe nobody except yourself. You owe yourself love. You owe yourself affection. And you owe yourself happiness. And you owe yourself effort to be better. But if you're stuck in a fucked up situation because you hoped it was going to get better, or you're afraid of what's going to happen if you leave, you're afraid to bet on yourself because you've never been on your own, because you've been in this relationship for 10 plus years. One, realize that you were foolish for allowing yourself to be put in this position. Okay. Two, the hope thing, let it go. It's not coming back. And now hold yourself to the first law of human nature, which is self-preservation. You have to participate in your own survival, even if it means leaving everything that's familiar to you. Even if that's what it means. If that's what it means, so be it. It has to happen this way. And what I need is from you guys. What I need is for you to present that same face, that same boldness, that same intestinal fortitude that I see online when you're talking about men ain't shit, when you're talking about women are thoughts. I need that same intestinal fortitude inside of the four walls of your own house when you're able to have a conversation and say, hey, this isn't working. I have to go. You owe me. Actually, you don't owe me. I owe me more. Now, you can stick around and help me repay me, or I can go somewhere else and begin to heal and repay myself. Why do you care about this, DeJuan J? Why do you care? Well, I'll tell you why I care. Because there are women that are hurting. There are men that are hurting. My bros, my burnt out, run down, and overworked men, and my sisters in sad situations. They are hurting. And the sad thing is that they miss out on one another because the healing stages and the grief stages are different. Like two people that could have been awesome for each other miss out on each other completely because one of them or both of them are not in a completely healed state. So then they fuck that up. So yes, there are some ain't shit men. Yes, there are some ain't shit women. I'm not here to argue that. I won't. But life is about making it happen. Either you make shit happen or shit happens to you. You either make shit happen or shit happens to you. So now that you've been in a bad relationship and you got to get the fuck out. And this doesn't apply to like, romantic relationships. This applies to jobs. This applies to family reunions. This applies to siblings, cousins, mother, father. The shit's bad. Every time you interact with this person, you feel bad. You don't want to pick up their calls, but you do out of obligation and hope that it's going to be better this time. Out of fear that something can be wrong, out of guilt because you feel like that relation equals obligation, but it does not. Relation does not equal obligation. Just because I'm familiar or because I can relate to you, I don't have any obligation to you. The only obligation I have is to the person in the mirror, because that's the person that I cannot run from. I have to see that person every day. So now, am I looking at a person with bags under their eyes, burnt out, stressed out because there's no reciprocity? Am I looking at fearful eyes because you're afraid that the next time he comes through the door, he's going to go upside your head? What am I looking at in the mirror? And how can I improve that image? By knowing that it's time. You have to know it, and the time is now. If you're stuck in a sad situation or you're not being reciprocated to, the time is now. The resources are available. And if you're out there and you're watching this and you don't know how to break away, email us. You don't have to put your business on Front Street in the comments, but email us, talktogml@gmail.com. We will point you in the right direction and get you the help that you need. But it starts with you. You have to know that it's time to walk away. So how do I know? How do I know that it's time to move on from a bad relationship, a toxic relationship? Number one, there's no more emotional connection. The most dangerous way to be or feel about a person is indifferent. If you don't care if that person is coming or going, if they live, if they die, if they eat, if they don't, it's time to walk away. Because at that point, you're just going through the motions and you're hurting yourself. You're wasting time. You're wasting your most valuable commodity, which is time and emotion. You're stagnant, and stagnant water begins to be infested by bacteria, and eventually nobody wants to drink from that cup. 2, physical intimacy, sex. Sex doesn't appeal to you anymore. 3, it's hard to agree on anything. We can't even determine what to fucking watch on television. Basically, when you wake up and you're asking your partner, who the fuck are you? Who are you? When you're asking your partner questions like that, it's time to go. Time to start planning the exit strategy. Because at that point, it's way too late. Because if you're asking me who I am, that means we have to relearn each other all over again. And it's not, I can almost guarantee, not going to end well. Number 4, someone else seems more appealing. Now, this is the beginning. This is the beginning of where infidelity starts. This is where it starts. Someone else is more appealing to you. They're more interesting. They are more sexy, more driven, more confident to you, and you're starting to wonder about them, it's time to get out of your current situation. Because if your current situation was as valuable to you as it should be, you're not checking for anybody else. Nobody else is interesting to you. So the minute that you start to wonder, it's time to go. And this goes both ways. Because no good is following these questions that you're asking yourself. No good is coming from it. Number 5, the trust is gone. That's simple. Without trust, there is no relationships. Friendship, kinship, nothing. Without trust, it's all gone. And number 6, when your goals stop aligning, and this is relationship goals, not your individual goals. When your relationship goals don't align, and I see this too often. What are we? Oh, I don't want to put a title on it. We've been dating for 6 years. When are we going to get married? Why are you in such a rush? Yes, I'm talking to you. And on the other side, right? If you're watching this, you're probably not the person committing these acts, right? Like, it's probably not you. You're probably not the problem. You're probably the victim or the recipient of these acts. So if you find yourself asking, what are we? And you can't get a straight answer, or somebody doesn't believe in labels or believe in titles, or you've been waiting on an engagement ring for a number of years, put this motherfucker on the clock. Put him on the clock. Because you owe you happiness. And ultimately, that's what this whole conversation is about. It's about you holding yourself accountable for the things that you said you were going to hold yourself accountable for in the very beginning. Too many times do I see men are trash posts when women are allowing these men to change who they are at their very nature and put up with shit that they normally wouldn't put up with. And I'm not talking about compromising here. What I'm talking about is when a compromise becomes a sacrifice, it's time to go. Because a man that's successfully leading a household is not going to allow his woman to sacrifice. We'll have to compromise. There'll be some bend, but you're going to get some reciprocity. You're going to get some get back. So when compromising becomes sacrifice, it's time to go. Our goals don't align. The trust is gone. Someone else seems more appealing. It's hard to agree on anything. I'm not sexually attracted to you anymore. And I'm emotionally indifferent towards you. We're in a dangerous place. At that point, I'm risking mental injury every day that I stay in that situation. So I beg you, get the fuck out. Get out. Leave. Nothing is worth your happiness. Nothing is worth your peace. Nothing is worth your smile. And when you find yourself in a situation where you haven't smiled in months, you have more fun at work than you do with your own spouse, it's time to go. So to my bros, my burnt out, overworked, run down and overworked individuals, and to my sisters in sad situations, the clock is ticking. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? You have to know when it's time to walk away. And I tell you, you better start walking away sooner rather than later. Why? Because biology and earth and science is working against you, number one. And number two, the longer you stay in this bad situation, the longer it's going to take you to heal. And then science takes over again. But if you rush into something else, you're going to fuck somebody else up. You're going to hurt someone else. And then you're no different than the person that hurt you. Just things to consider. If you're not down with this conversation, email me. talktogml@gmail.com. And we'll catch you guys next episode, huh? Cheers. Did you enjoy what you just watched? Be sure to give Grown Man Logic a listen on all streaming services and follow us on all forms of social media. We'll see you next time.